and Real. My name is Kwon. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I also would like to thank Brian Rose from London Real and London Real Academy. Brian, we wouldn't be here without you today. Thank you so much for what you have done. I'd like to share with you our city, Houston, Texas. Our city, we're full of people who are dynamic, creative, and brilliant. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you someone who is very close to my heart, and that is Donna Cole with Cole Chemicals. She is my mentor. She is also someone I like to grow up to be, and I am really excited to bring her to you today. When we meet people who are highly successful, we know you went through, well, a lot.
Well, you learn from your mistakes, right?
Yeah, so we want to talk about that.
So your greatest failures can be your greatest success stories afterwards.
What kept you going? Like, why? Did you have moments where you just wanted to quit?
Oh yeah, it's like, what's a nice girl like me doing in a place like this?
Exactly, in the male-dominated market.
And I remember my father telling me, you need to take shorthand, you need to take typing, you need to take business math so you can be a secretary.
Yeah, women were told, you need to find a nice husband.
That's right.
Have some kids, then your life's set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when I'm looking for a job, right, I realized, oh my gosh, so I went to school to be a computer operator programmer, and I did that for a couple months, but that was in the old days when they had raised floors and it was just freezing, you know, and every time I would walk out of the operations room into the key punch area, the girls knew it was rework. So they hated me, and they didn't want to talk to me, so I was all alone, and that's when I realized that, you know, looking for a job and doing things is a process of elimination. It's not really finding what you like to do. It really is just, okay, not that, not this, not that. So if you take a look at it from a different angle, it makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
So try it. If you don't like it, okay, go on to something else. So that's when I realized I need people. I need to be around people, and they stimulate me. So being in that cold computer room with the computer was awful.
But that's a good point, because you have to identify what works for you and what doesn't. But a lot of us, you know, we're told just go to college, get a good education, find a job, and stay there until you're ready to retire. But what got you to say, no, I don't want to be here, I'm ready for something else?
Well, so I was married, and then I got a divorce.
Okay.
So Tammy was 4. And, you know, you're pounding the pavement looking for a job. And so, of course, my first job was a secretary to the president of a chemical company. And he actually taught me everything that I knew in the chemical industry, and what he didn't know, he told me who was an expert in methanol or glycol or brake fluid, and so I would call them. And I think just being, so the double-edged sword, being a woman and just saying, I need your help, you know, I hear you're an expert in this area, what can you tell me about ethylene glycol? And, you know, people want to help other people naturally, and so they just spilled out everything that they knew. And I was a sponge and absorbed it all.
So he was your first mentor? Would you
He
call
was my
him a
first
mentor?
mentor. Yes, he was. And then, you know, so, and he had a drinking problem. And he golfed, and so he would come in late and leave early and have long lunches. And so with my desire to make more money, because I, you know, had to bring up Tammy,
you were
put a roof over her head, I wasn't getting child support, so even more incentive to work hard and make as much money as you can.
So that was the drive.
That was the drive.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do that and learn more. And then, so before you know it, not only was I doing the books and invoicing and collections, I was running the tank car fleet, I was buying chemicals, I was selling chemicals, you know, I was doing all kinds of other things.
Wow,
beyond.
so you were learning the business that way.
Absolutely.
Did you enjoy it? Did you like it?
I was hungry. And not only that, I used all the resources that I could. I used the manufacturer's directory. I used the chemical flow charts. I called people and said, you know, I'm with the University of Texas business directory, and I just want to confirm, you know, are you still the president? Is this guy still the buyer, purchasing manager? Do you still make these products? So, you know, then 2 weeks later I would call back and go, hi, I'm Donna Cole, you know, and I'd like to sell you ethylene glycol for your antifreeze that you made.
You didn't have anyone over your shoulder micromanaging you?
No.
Where was the point where you thought, I can do this on my own?
It didn't happen till way later. So we tried to form another distribution company with a Japanese company, and it just didn't work at the time. You know, those were 1979, and so there wasn't an opportunity for me. You know, we had the stock distribution pages and because I was already 26% owner of the company now.
Wow.
I was VP of sales after 4 years, and so we went to this company to form a joint venture, and they wouldn't let me own stock because I was a woman, because I was a Japanese American woman, you know, so that was quite interesting.
That is quite interesting. How did you even overcome that? You didn't just say, okay.
No, I said, as far as I'm concerned, this meeting's over, and I got up to leave, and my partners left with me, right, my 2 partners, and I always said for years, you know, thank God that, you know, they got up with me, because they could have done the deal without me. And then somebody later said, but Donna, you were doing, you know, almost everything in the company. So they needed to leave, because who was going to run the company if you weren't around?
Wow. So you created a lot of value, obviously.
I did.
But where did that strength, that courage come from to say, I'm going to leave this meeting?
Yeah. I don't know.
You just had it in you.
It was just so, like, in your face, right? It's like, no way, I'm out of here.
Yeah. So, you know, that question I had earlier about the business that you're in, it's a male-dominated market.
It is, and still is today.
Is, right. So how did you survive this?
I like to think that 80% of the people are good people out there.
Okay, so you kept it positive.
And I just kept it positive, because there were a few people, right? I was young, I was divorced, I didn't have a chemical degree, you know, all kinds of reasons why they didn't want to do business with me, right?
Yeah.
And even today, you still run into some people, and I have to believe, okay, that's the devil working out there.
Okay.
And I just need to step aside and let them walk past me, because there's no reason for me to tangle with them, right?
Okay.
So it's sort of like the opposite of your family. It's too bad you can't pick your family like friends, right?
Right.
So, but I do have that choice that I can pick and choose who I want to do business with. You know, you can decide, right, who you want to do business with. But more importantly, it's what is that gut feel? And also your nationality, your looks, your physical looks, right? So I had people who thought, oh, she's a minority and a woman-owned business,
right? So
she must be African American because of my last name.
Right, yeah.
And then at the same time, I didn't use my maiden name, Fujimoto, because at the time, the trend that was happening was that anything Japanese was cheap, not quality.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Not until later did the Toyotas of the world do an about face, right? And become known as quality. And so now probably it would be okay if I changed the company name to Fuji or Fujimoto Chemical, right? But so you always have to be aware of your surroundings and what's going on, and how would that positively or negatively impact you and your business. You want to be able to speak to somebody in their language, right? Or their thought process. And so I think that's what you do. And so maybe sometimes it does get a little skewed, but I think that's what makes a good salesperson, is to know that this person needs numbers, and I better come with those numbers. Or this person needs to know, how is it going to help the world and the people, and how are people going to feel about it? Or this person is more about, well, what's the timeline? And what's the goals, and how are we going to achieve it, right? Or if it's somebody who's a visionary, right, and who's full of ideas, it's like, you have to show that big picture, right? That this is what it's going to look like. It's just going to take some time to get there.
Right. So you just have to be able to read the person as you meet them, right? Were there moments where you're like, I quit, I'm just going to...
It was our manufacturing guys, or the people out in the plant. You know, you wanted to sometimes throw up your hands.
Right. Yeah, you had those moments.
Yeah, those moments. I had those moments with some customers. It's like, here, take the business back. I don't want it, right? You're too hard to work with, and I can't charge you enough. And I know...
You said that?
Yeah.
Oh my God. How did they respond to that?
They took back the contract. Yeah.
Wow.
But, you know, you just have to know that it's right for you, you know, that the ethics, the values that you share and are common. Because if you don't, then there's that opportunity for conflict. And then can you really resolve it? And if you can't, the resolution is usually not in a nice way, right? Or can ruin your reputation.
Right.
Or you never know what other people say about you. But if you can walk away from a contract and say, you know what, this is not a good fit for us.
Ahead of time. Before the fire drill. So you try to alleviate it. But I mean, were there other occasions where personally that made you want to say, you know what, I just want to leave?
Yeah, there have been times.
How do you balance it, personal, business? Because I like to let our audience know that your company is ranked number 2 by the Houston Business Journal as the largest woman-owned business. Did I say that? That's a mouthful, you know?
Yeah.
So you're not just running a company or a business, you're ranked 2nd biggest women-owned business in the city, which is the 4th largest city in the United States. Right. So that's a big deal, right? So you're not just running the business to pay your bills and pay your employees. You're up there. How did you balance your life and even reach to that pinnacle?
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because, I'm not sure that it's about balancing, but really prioritizing, and then what's important and just go for that at the time, right? Okay. Because I think if I tried to balance it all, I wouldn't do a good job at all. So it's whatever comes to you first. So like my daughter, right? I would have to send her to my parents during the summer, so that I could go make sales calls. And then, as time went by, I felt pretty guilty about it. But now, 30, 40 years later, she and my mother have this wonderful relationship. They write letters every week to each other still today.
Nice. That is awesome. So they had a chance to build a bond together. But that guilt, I'm a single mom. Yes, the world now knows. You have this tremendous amount of guilt, right, when you leave them with someone else so that you can work. So I understand what that feels like. And from your point of view, it worked out. It paid off.
And I had great friends, right, who would pick up Tammy after daycare, feed her, get her a bath, put her in her PJs so I can just swing by, pick her up, and take her home.
So did she ever come to you and say, Mom, I wish we spent more time together? Were there moments where you felt like, Tammy?
There were. There were times, yeah. And even today, every now and then I think about it, or I'm at a meeting, or I'm, giving a speech, or being interviewed, and afterwards I'll call her and go, have I told you I loved you and that I'm proud of you?
Do you have any regrets?
I have some regrets, about some of the people that, we've had to lay off during some of the downturns, but, we've been very fortunate. I like to keep a finger on the pulse of industry and trends that are happening, so preparing ourselves before they hit so we're in the right place at the right time.
How about those pinnacle moments? Those moments where you were recognized for all these awards. I know part of them, but we want our viewers to know too. But you were an ambassador to go to Korea representing Houston. That was really exciting.
It was very exciting.
Yes.
So we went to Korea and we went to Japan.
Representing Houston.
Representing Houston, and I was on President Bush's Export Council, so we were the first highest ranking U.S. delegation to Taiwan since it was Formosa, which was awesome, and that was in 1991.
Wow. So how were you selected in the panel?
That's where you never know. So you should always, act right all the time, because you never know who's watching you.
Okay, is that what happened?
That's what happened. I was on a board, and then all of a sudden I was called up and went, yeah, sure, I'd be interested. And what happens is when you're on one of those boards, they do a thorough investigation of you with the FBI, the whole 9 yards. And I had people calling me from elementary school that I knew saying, did you do something wrong? Right? And
they're doing background checks.
Yeah, they're doing background checks on you.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was very interesting.
That is interesting.
There were two that were pretty significant for me. One was the American Leadership Forum.
Okay.
So that was a group of my peers, who presented the Jaworski Award to me. So the Jaworski Award is for a leader who's giving back to community. Okay. So that was very important and very significant. The other one was the recognition that I received from the National Veterans Network.
Tell us more about that. So,
I'm Japanese American. I grew up in South Texas. Not a lot of Japanese, mostly Hispanic, mostly Caucasian.
Yeah.
And so I was bullied, a lot, because especially when Pearl Harbor, the anniversary of December 7th, would come around every year. And I just knew, okay, the movies started playing, and, I'd be heckled and teased, and, it hurt.
Absolutely.
And so I would take my dad's 442 Army book to school during show and tell, just to prove that I was a U.S. citizen, my dad was a citizen, and he was in the Army for the U.S. side, not the Japanese side, right?
Right.
So, and I didn't think about it much. I grew up with it.
Yeah.
You know, and so then I wonder, well, is that part of why I like to give and help other people? Because I felt so, you know, suppressed during those times. And then, you know, my business has done well, and there was an opportunity for me to join this veterans group to help the Japanese Americans who fought for the Americans during World War II to get this Congressional Gold Medal.
Right.
And
That's
I thought,
fantastic. Yeah.
wow. And I said to myself, this is God's plan for me.
Okay.
You know, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, and so it really felt good, and to be recognized that, wow, I could help out and do something and maybe right all those wrongs.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're leaving a legacy definitely in Houston and in Texas, globally, right, with your relationship with all these companies all around the world as well. So on the topic of giving back, I know one of many, but one I like to bring up is Pantheon of Women.
Yes.
So that's pretty phenomenal. That's pretty phenomenal.
Well, 2.5 years ago, Alicia Goodrow, who's an attorney, came to me, and we met, and she was talking about making movies that her daughter could watch. You know, she has a 12-year-old daughter, and there wasn't a lot out there for her to watch, or movies on television, right? And I said, you know, that's interesting, because I mentor maybe 30 or 40 people a year, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
And
including that's me too. I'm on that.
And I want to do more, right? I want to help more people, but you know, how can I do that? And then I realized the Dalai Lama had said, I think it was in the early 1990s, that it's the Western woman who's going to save the world.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, maybe this is another, you know, godly act for me, right?
Yeah.
That this is in my plan to be able to tell stories through movies and television about strong women and supportive men, and change the way men perceive and treat women, and how boys and girls perceive themselves.
Right. It's changing. The canvas is definitely changing.
So I can mentor millions through movies.
Okay.
Right. And
so that was the conversation you had with Alicia.
That was the conversation. They've done some studies for the last 20, 40 years about movies and how women are in these stereotypical roles.
Right.
But more importantly, women are 50% of the population.
True.
Okay? We're 40% of the workforce, and we're less than a third in movies. On the screen.
Wow.
Less than a third. And most of the time we're depicted in stereotypical ways, you know. We're bitches, we're sex, you know, and we're in nudie pictures.
That's
and
right.
we're, you know, we're just really in terrible positions.
More secondary roles.
Yeah, we're mentally ill, we're, you know, we've got all kinds of problems, you know, and really, in real life, 90% of the women aren't that way.
Tell the women's side of history. Right? So you have one movie out already.
We have one movie out now. It's called I Dream Too Much.
Okay.
And we're making the film festival circuit now.
Fantastic.
So,
I mean, and let's think about it. You're a CEO of a energy organization, right? Which is very male dominated, and it's very structured. It's all about the numbers and chemicals and symbols and things like that. And here you swing to the other side of something completely creative, which is about writing, acting, creating a story out of in someone's imagination. So how did you, you know, go from one end all the way to the other end like that?
Yeah, that's my yin and yang.
There you go.
But I think, you know, really, when you think about entrepreneurship, right? So I've owned an advertising premiums company, distribution companies, some manufacturing companies. I've owned a civil engineering firm, construction.
Okay.
Yeah. So throughout my lifetime, I've done a lot of different things.
You did do a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but this one feels so right, and there's so much to learn. I think that's the other thing is, you know, I know the chemical industry. I'm at a point where it's a great lifestyle, and I'm ready to do some succession planning.
Okay.
And grow this puppy to something even bigger. And so, but I also want to be chairman of the board and still do this movie thing, because I think that's where it's going to be.
So you're transitioning to more of a creative, being a creative space. But what kept you just waking up next day to say?
Have you ever done Strength Finder? So I recommend that for everybody, right? So get the book Strength Finder. It's by Don Clifton, and take it, because it gives you your top 5 strengths. And when I looked at those top 5 strengths, my number 1 is achiever. Right?
Yes, and you're achieving.
And so I constantly have to do things. So in my office, I have like about 6 of those pink bunnies. You know, the Energizer bunny.
Really? Okay.
Because that's what people think of me, and I never thought about that before until I did that test, right? Achiever. I have arranger, so I know how to arrange things and do timelines. And then learner, it's so important for me to learn. And I'm a multi-relator, so I like to connect people and things together, right? So when we meet, it's like, oh, you need to meet so-and-so and so-and-so.
And you do that. Yep, you do that.
And it's not so much you need to meet them, but it's how can I put the 2 of you, connect you together.
So Donna, so if you could meet your younger self to when you were 20, what would you tell her?
Wow, when I was 20.
Yes.
Woo!
With what you know now.
What I know now. You know, when I was 20, I was searching for Mr. Right.
Right? Yeah, that's what we're told. And what we're supposed to do.
And, you know, I would say it's okay. You don't need to look for Mr. Right. Just do what you need to do, you know, and be successful on your own. You don't need somebody else to make you feel whole or right.
Can you say that one more time?
Sure. You don't need somebody else to make you feel whole or right.
So to pursue your calling, your inner dream, right?
Your inner dreams.
Female or male.
Doesn't matter. Just go for it, you know. And I think that's what's wrong with what we do with people. We think, right? You have to have a partner, or you have to have children, you have to have a house, you have to, you know.
Right.
And you don't.
Yeah. I agree with you. I wish I need to tell that to myself, you know, when I was 20. But anyway, thank you, Donna, so much. This was a great conversation. It just went, I feel like we just started.
I know, it went quick, but thank you so much.
Thank you.